What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, coach of your Montreal Milotic, bringing you my draft analysis for season number 4 of the ICBA. Today, I'm just going to go over quickly how the draft works and tell you what my process of thinking was while I was taking each of these Pokemon. And before we do that, I just want to give a huge thank you to each of the members of my front office. You guys are just incredible. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all the time that we spent going over these picks and making sure that we had the best team possible. So, without further ado, guys, let's just get into it. So to start off, we had the 5th pick in the draft overall. Pretty good pick. Pretty good spot, actually. Really good spot, not gonna lie. I felt like we could get the pick that we wanted, the 5th pick, and the pick that we actually really wanted to start off with was going to be Magearna. Now, Magearna is a really good Pokemon overall in the Draft League format. It's one of the best, actually. And at only 200 points in the S tier, that's pretty good. And we can only draft one S tier Pokemon, and we'd only have 200 points left for the next 3 free picks. That's pretty good, speaking of how good Magearna is, because obviously Magearna is only weak to fire and ground. It can be run like many different ways. It can be run with Trick Room, it can be run with Shift Gear, it can be run just purely offensive with the Assault Vest. It can be a great pivot. Sadly, no Toxic, but what are you going to do there? It's just a really good Pokemon with amazing coverage, amazing typing, and that's what I wanted to start off. Sadly, it did not fall to us. We actually got sniped with the first pick in the draft. Magearna went, which is so surprising to me, seeing as there was like Origin Form Giratina and Dawnwings and Necrozma and like, I don't know, Genesect and Mega Blaziken and Mega Metagross available, but it's whatever. It got taken from us. So instead, we actually went with my first option that I wanted, but the second option for my front office, and that actually ended up being one of the coolest Pokemon in my opinion, Darkrai. Now, Darkrai has ridiculous stats, guys. It's got 125 in its speed stat and 135 in its special attack, which is just ridiculous. It's insane, and the amount of coverage that this thing gets is insane. Bad Dreams, obviously, unless you're running Hypnosis or Dark Void, is kind of a useless ability, but whatever. You can set up with Tenacity, you can set up a Nasty Plot and go for game. You can just be overwhelming with Sludge Bombs and the Psyshocks, or I believe it doesn't get Psyshock, I think it's Psychic with like, what is it, with Spatial Rends and Thunderbolts and Ice Beams. There's a ton of great coverage moves that Darkrai gets, and I feel like it could be one of the best sweepers and best breakers for us the entire league. And I think it definitely has a chance of being one of the best Pokemon in the entire league in terms of the MVP rankings. But besides the point, Darkrai gives us a couple weaknesses, and I really want to make sure we can patch those up pretty well. And one of the ways we do decide to patch those up is with our next pick. And I did want Magearna for my first pick, but because I got sniped, I decided to go after another Steel Fairy type, and that was Mega Mawile. And Mega Mawile was my was the Pokemon I used before in the past, and it did pretty good. I had it with Speed Passing, I had it with Rain as well, and it was able to patch its weaknesses very well. Thankfully, we don't have Rain again because I use Rain quite a bit. But Mega Mawile has a ton of great options with what it can do. It can be a Trick Room Sweeper. It can be just an insanely offensive powerhouse of an attacker with Sucker Punch and moves like Play Rough and Iron Head, of course, with huge power, does a ton of damage. It can be a rocker as well, even though most times doesn't want to use Stealth Rocks. It's basically one of the best Pokemon that can be run under Trick Room, and I feel like we do a really good job of supporting Mawile and Darkrai to be amazing Pokemon for us in terms of their offenses this season. Mawile obviously has the ability to run Intimidate beforehand, before its Mega Evolution at least, and that's really useful to intimidate something, get it to where you can't be 2-KO'd by Mawile, get off a Swords Dance or whatever it may be, a setup move, and then just go for game right there with obviously its powerful offensive attacking stats at base 105 with the ridiculous ability in huge power. Now, one of the things I do like about this pair is that nothing really switches in on them. Fairy types that Darkrai hates are handled by Mawile. Fire types and ground types that Mawile hates, Darkrai can effectively deal with them, mostly because they're going to have to run physically defensive or maybe Intimidate to deal with that, and Darkrai is obviously special, so they pair really well together. So a Pokemon I want to get that would help support both these Pokemon equally, and at the same time be a really good offensive threat, was Mew. And Mew actually made it back to me in Tier 3, which is insanity because Mew is such a good Pokemon. To me, it's the best Pokemon in a standard format. Mew obviously has base 100 stats all around, really good. It's got an insanely wide move pool. You got moves like Trick Room, you got moves like Tailwind, you got obviously your Nasty Plot, and you get Nasty Plot? Yeah, you do get Nasty Plot. You get your Calm Minds, you get your Agilities, you get a ton of great options, and plus all the TMs and HMs in the entire game. So it's really good to have Mew. It's one of our only Stealth Rockers on the team actually, and it's one of our only defoggers, so I gotta be careful with that. Mew, I do not want to be locked into running a defensive Mew every week, and I can guarantee you that is not going to happen. So yeah, Mew is just such a good Pokemon to pair with so many other things, and because of that, if people are so worried about these other threats, Mew can shine, and that's why I want to draft Mew with this team. Moving on though to pick number 4, I can't believe this Pokemon made it all the way back to me, and I'm really happy that it did, because I usually see it go really high in drafts or not drafted at all. And I was kind of worried it was going to get drafted because of all the not bulky Ubers there were in this league, and I decided to take this Pokemon being Conkeldurr. Now, Conkeldurr has insane stats. It's got a 140 in its attacking stat and 105 in its HP stat, so it's pretty good offensively. It's just a really good, like, bulky tank. And with an Assault Vest, its 65 base special defense becomes much higher. Its 95 defense is still pretty good with that 105 HP. You got 3 great abilities. Guts, obviously, probably one of the main ones you're going to run because it makes such a good status absorber. You have insane coverage. You get Sheer Force for those moves that you're going to run Life Orb with. You also get Iron Fist, which is very nice to have with the potential of Mach Punch, of Drain Punch, your elemental punches, whatever it may be, Poison Jab even. Conkeldurr is one of my favorite Pokemon to use in all of 6th gen, and now it's in 7th gen, and it's lost a bit of its shine because of all the fairies that were introduced, but Conkeldurr is still such a good Pokemon, and it's one of the primary checks to Darkrai offensively, so I want to see what we can do with having both of them on the same team. Our offensive core is looking insane, guys, and I feel like we have probably the best 4 offensive set of Pokemon in the entire draft. So, yeah. Moving on, though, to I decided to draft this Pokemon in Tier 5 right now because, in my eyes, it's a Tier 4 Pokemon, and getting something this early, I mean, to be fair, this was my 5th pick, so it was going back down, and the next time I'd be able to get it was basically round 7, so I'd be basically doing this Pokemon 2 rounds in advance. I think it was the best time for me to take it. And the Pokemon I was going after was Ditto. Now, Ditto, obviously, as a Tier 5 Pokemon, is insane. If you guys know me, you know I draft Ditto all the time because people don't know how to properly tier it. And usually when I don't draft it, it's because it's been placed in like Tier 3, maybe Tier 4, but if it's a Tier 5, I am taking it. End of story. There's no reason for this thing being Tier 5, especially in a league that allows so many Ubers like this one. All the Ubers in this thing are insane. You got Pheromosa, you got Donweez and Crosmite, Giratina Origin Form, you get your Genesect, a crazy amount of Pokemon that Ditto can just say, hey, you're not allowed to sweep me anymore, and this is why. Choice Scarf, Imposter Ditto, comes in and reverse sweeps them right back, which is so nice to have. If you guys remember one of my battles, I reverse swept someone's Naganadel with my Ditto. That wasn't even like EV to Speed Tie with them. It was, sorry, that wasn't even Choice Scarf. It was EV to Speed Tie with them, and it had, I believe, it was a choice, not Choice Scarf, it was a Focus Sash, so I could live any hit and then fire back and KO that thing. So I was in a great spot with that thing, and I love using Ditto. It's one of my favorite Pokemon just to draft because it really forces your opponent to prep weirdly, and that's one of the best things about the format. Moving on, though, to our next pick. I had 2 picks almost back-to-back here, and I really want to start supporting my team well, and I decided to grab 2 Pokemon that may not be the best walls, may not be the best offensive Pokemon, but they're really, really good in supporting roles. And my first one I actually drafted was one that I didn't think was going to make it back to me the next time. That was Crobat. Now, Crobat is really nice to have because it's got ridiculous 130 speed, which is insanely fast. It's got powerful moves like Brave Bird, Sludge Bomb. You get Nasty Plot as well for your special moves, and Nasty Bat set is one of my favorites. You have access to Tailwind. Defog is nice. It gives me another hazard remover other than Mew. It gives me really good options. I love Super Fang. I love fast taunt users. There's just Crobat can do so many great things for its team. It gives me a Roost as well for longevity. It's got 2 pretty good abilities in Inner Focus and Infiltrator, and while its offensive stats may not be that impressive, it based 90 attack and 70 special attack, it can still do pretty good things when you're running the right set, like maybe a Banded Braver, maybe a Nasty Plot, Air Slash, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Balling, Crobat. I don't know. There's a ton of great things that Crobat can do overall, and I'm excited to see how we can do it. Next up, though, the 7th pick of our draft, I actually went ahead and grabbed Whimsicott. Now, Whimsicott I'm placing in my free tiers right now, and at the end of the draft, it was made aware to me that I could not do that. I had to place it in my Tier 3, so we ended up losing out on 20 points because I did draft another Tier 3 Mon that was a Tier 3A instead of a Tier 3B like Whimsicott was. But that's okay. Neither here nor there. We can work around it. So basically, Whimsicott is a pretty good typing. It gives me Grass and Fairy, so it makes it so that Mawile isn't the only Fairy typing we have. It gives me a 4 times weakness to Poison, but that's okay. We have a couple immunities, a couple Pokemon that aren't weak to Poison. Yeah, I think our only Pokemon that's weak to Poison right now is the Whimsicott, and that's pretty useful because not many people are going to be running the HP Poison, which means Whimsicott can just have great longevity. It's got pretty good typing overall, so yeah, it doesn't get Synthesis, which is whatever, but with Prankster and Tailwind and Leaf Seed and U-Turn, you also get a Memento, which is nice. Whimsicott can be such a good supportive Pokemon and really allow me to go for a game with my Mawile, my Darkrai, even my Mew or Conkeldurr, given the opportunity. So Whimsicott is one of the best supportive Pokemon, and I actually sniped, I believe it was Sohan, aka the OP Jellicent, and I'm happy I did because he would have taken it all the way back, and I just couldn't have that because this was one Pokemon I was really relying on in the draft, especially with how inexpensive it was. Moving on, though, to my next pick, I need to shout out Austin, aka Garchomp the God, for this because he was going to snipe this Pokemon for me, and he kind of got talked out of it, so thanks, man. He wanted to go after Kyurem, and I actually said, no, don't take it, take someone else, they'll be better off, and he said, sure, fine. So this Kyurem that we actually have right now is going to be named after him this season, so thanks, Austin. Kyurem is a really good Pokemon. It's got 95 in base speed, which is pretty good. It's fast enough, but it's got 130 in both of its attacking stats, and it also gets access to Roost. It's pretty fat with 125 in its HP stat, 90 in both defenses. overall, Kyurem has just so many things going for it. It's got great coverage with moves like Draco Meteor, Ice Beam, Earth Power. Obviously, you get your hidden powers as well. There's a lot of things that Kyurem can do, and it's a really good wall breaker and a really good cleaner if you decide to run a Scarf set potentially. I like Kyurem a lot. 130 is a pretty good offensive stat, so I'm happy to see what we can do with Kyurem this season. Our next pick in the draft, I did get sniped. I unfortunately could not take this pick. I was going to take it before the Kyurem, but because the pick that I actually really originally wanted was sniped for me, I had to go with a different one. Same typing, fine, whatever. It's just not as good in my opinion. I originally was going after Seismitoad in tier 4. Seismitoad would have given me a good rocker, would have given me a water immunity, would have given me 4 times weakness to grass, which could have been easily patched up by Crobat, by Whimsicott, by Mawile, by even Mew to an extent in Kyurem. But that didn't work out. But instead, we actually grabbed another water and ground type, being Gastrodon. Now, Gastrodon obviously has Storm Drain, so it's immune to the water types. Unfortunately, it does not get rocks, which is what I was really looking at getting because I needed more rockers on my team. I couldn't just have Mawile and Mew as being my rockers. It just wasn't good. Wasn't going to happen. So that being said, we didn't get that, so we have to focus on getting rockers later on in our draft. We have 80 points left, and I actually was hoping to get a couple other Pokemon. Gastrodon pairs really well with the rest of my team in terms of the options it has to stop setup with Haze. It gets Mirror Coat as well. Being only weak to one typing is really useful, and I'm excited to see how we can pair up this Pokemon with other things. Before this, we had a pretty big weakness to fire. I believe we had no resistances before this, so giving us our first fire resist is pretty good and pretty important. Next up, though, I had 2 Pokemon in mind here. I had Bronzong or Regirock. I was going to take one of them for sure, and the next one I was going to take after. Unfortunately, though, like I said before, I thought I had 100 points, but in reality, I only had 80. So I decided to take Regirock first because no one could snipe me out of Bronzong at that point in time, so I'd be able to take it. And Regirock gives me a fire resist, it gives me a flying resist, which I also kind of lacked other than the Mawile. And it gave me a good reliable rocker. It's got 200 base defense, which is insane. It gets a ton of coverage moves. It gets access to Thunder Wave as well. It gets access to Curse. I love the Curse set on Regirock. It's really nice. And Spanik used this set really effectively last season, I believe. And I really want to try and mimic how he used it because it was just awesome the way he did. And I think Regirock is a really underrated Pokemon. It's tier 5, of course, so it's really good for its tier. And it gives me what I needed, being the fire and the flying resist. And I didn't have that many grass weaknesses. I basically had Gastrodon and that's it. And in terms of water weaknesses, I have Gastrodon to cover that. I have Whimsicott that can cover it pretty well, and Kyurem, of course, as well. So yeah, guys, moving on, though, to our next pick. Again, like I said, I picked Bronzong initially, but then I was made aware that I couldn't take it, so I had to pick something else. And Bronzong was really one of a kind. It gives me another Trick Room user, it gives me another rocker, it gives me a ground immunity, gives me a resistance to grass as well. It was just a really good Pokemon for my team. And unfortunately, though, we couldn't take it, so I'm gonna try and find a way. Maybe I can get it back, but who knows. So instead, I wanted to get something that was in between the pretty big speed gap we have of Kyurem, which is base 95, and Mega Mawile, which is base 50, and that's a pretty big gap. So I wanted to try and find something that can help me out there, and there was really nothing in tier 5 that was going to be able to benefit my team that much. So instead, I decided to take something that was going to help out my slower Pokemon be more effective, and even my faster Pokemon do some work too. So I decided to pick up Musharna. Now, Musharna was 20 points. It gives me access to another Trick Room user, another reliable Trick Room user, that is. It gives me a really bulky Pokemon. It gives me moves like Baton Pass with Calm Mind. You get access to Healing, which was really nice, especially under Trick Room. So imagine Mawile doing so much work under Trick Room, and then I send in my Musharna, click Trick Room again, and then click Healing Wish as I bring my Mawile back to full HP, and then just go for a game once again under Trick Room, under 3 more turns of it. And that's just going to be, it's going to be so deadly because nothing really wants to take many hits from Mega Mawile. But yeah, Musharna is a really good team player for us. I believe it gets Taunt as well. I'm going to double check to make sure because I think it does. It does not get Taunt, never mind. But it does get Heal Bell, which is nice to have. It does get access to Psyshock and Psychic, of course. It get Stored Power. I'm going to double check that. It does get Stored Power, and Stored Power is one of my favorite sets, especially when my opponent does not have a Dark type on their team. I could run that potentially. But yeah, I love Musharna in terms of what it can do, and at only 20 points is pretty good. It's not going to replace the Bronzong that well, but I'm excited to see how we can do with this team. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know what you think will be the MVP of our team, and also hit the like button. Every like counts, guys. And if you guys think you might want to follow us in the Montreal Milotics this season in the ICBA, make sure to hit the subscribe button next to my channel and hit the notification bell next to my name. Without further ado, guys, I actually have one more thing to say, actually. So our Z captains, we have Z plus Darkrai, so we can run moves like Z Hypnosis, which will put opponents to sleep and up our speed. We also have Z captain Whimsicott, and the reason I wanted Whimsicott was because of moves like Xenomento. That'd be really useful to lower the attacking stats of a Pokemon by 2 stages, and then buff something back to full HP under potentially a Tailwind or something. So there's a lot of things that we could do with that, and I'm excited to see how the team comes together overall. Anyways, guys, again, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, of course, and check out the rest of the coaches in the ICBA. They're all linked down in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time.